The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Religion Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, the shaggy too dope to my violent J, Robert Winfrey. Robert Winfrey, everybody. Robert Winfrey.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure my co-host here is one half of the reason that you can still buy Fago.
It's Fago. We were driving to Orlando. I took my kids to go see Medieval Times on Saturday, and Erica insisted that we listen to music, so I had on the AI DJ on Spotify, and one of my like songs that it threw up on there while we were driving was "Fuck the World" by Insane Clown Posse, and it makes me laugh every single time. So I almost introduced you as Fuck Cisco, Count of Monte Cristo, Jack and Jerry Briscoe. And I thought, I'm going to have to explain way too much of that. I'll just introduce him as Shaggy Too Dope.
Fair enough.
Robert.
All right.
What are we reviewing tonight, sir?
Well, the latest episode of JCW, Insane Professional Wrestling. Of course, on YouTube.
Juggalo Championship Wrestling, yo.
Which almost, you know what? Not going to tell that story. We're talking about something about as creatively useful as the Insane Clown Posse. It is the Disney live-action Moana remake.
Yes, sir. Tonight on Damn You Hollywood, we review the live-action remake of Moana. Released by Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures on July 10th, 2026, the film adapts Disney's acclaimed 2016 animated hit and marks the first live-action entry in the franchise. Directed by
an AI.
Director for hire under $7, Thomas Kail, in his feature film debut from a screenplay by Jared Bush and Dana Ledoux Miller, which they just copy and pasted.
They photocopied the other one.
Yeah. The film stars Catherine Laga'aia as Moana, alongside Dwayne Johnson in his terrible wig, who reprises his role as Maui, while also serving as a producer. Returning as Tamatoa is Jemaine Clement, with Rena Owen, John Tui, and Frankie Adams rounding out the cast. Disney first began exploring the remake in 2019, before Disney started losing money. And before officially announcing it in 2023 as part of its continued live-action strategy during the company's centennial celebration. Produced on a reported budget of $250 million Marvel monies and filmed in both Hawaii and Atlanta, the project also carries personal significance for Johnson, who has described Maui and the story's Polynesian heritage as a tribute to his culture. His late grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia. Fuck Rocky Maivia. That's also in the Fuck the World song.
Yeah, please don't.
In this song, I say fuck 97 times. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on from the Insane Clown Posse.
I really wish we could, as a species.
Yeah. Robert, you and I have had a long... We've reviewed almost the entire length and breadth of the modern list of Disney remakes, which I have the list up here.
Okay, there's only two fundamentally that we haven't. One of which I don't consider a remake of the Disney story, and one of which it was the genesis of this show. So we have not reviewed the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland.
No.
Which again, I actually don't consider a Disney live action remake of the Alice in Wonderland.
If you're talking about Alice through the Looking Glass, that was 2016. You're not wrong in that the birth of this show is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I would say, that same year we did Maleficent. It was like it was like a week later, and we just kind of kept going. So we've been here through Cinderella, The Jungle Book. I don't think we did Alice Through the Looking Glass. I think we skipped that one.
No, there was something else that week.
Yeah, I think I took Lily to go see it, but I don't think we reviewed it. Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
No, Christopher Robin, I don't think is a live. We did review it, but I wouldn't say it's a live action remake. That felt like a continuation of the Pooh story.
I agree with you, but for some reason, I mean, if we're going to count Maleficent 2,
for the purposes of our discussion, I'm not counting Cruella or Maleficent.
Okay, that's fair.
Which means I'm also not counting Christopher Robin, though we both loved it.
Robin's great.
Dumbo, Aladdin, The Lion King.
Yep.
Alexis and I did Lady and the Tramp. That was a Disney Plus movie.
Yeah, wasn't that also like half a show instead of a movie? It was weird.
No, Lady and the Tramp was just a movie.
Okay.
It was a directed Disney Plus movie.
Okay.
Speaking of directed Disney Plus, Pinocchio.
We reviewed.
I'm not counting Peter Pan and Wendy. That is a whole other new story.
We should count it because it's in this terrible, terrible thing that they're doing and inflicting on the human race. And really, everyone involved at Disney who has been responsible for these things should be dragged to The Hague.
Would you say that Peter Pan and Wendy is a direct remake of Peter Pan? Because I remember it focusing almost entirely on Wendy.
Narratively, it focuses on her, but it's not a sequel the way that, Christopher Robin, like you said, is kind of this like decades later, let's revisit this character.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's almost like Hook,
Yeah, that's much more in line with Hook. This is just, hey, it's Wendy, Peter, and John, Wendy, John, and Michael back with Peter Pan in Never Neverland, and it's terrible. God bless Jude Law. I hope the check cleared.
That was one of my worst movies of the year. The Little Mermaid, Mufasa, The Lion King, which is just a sequel to The Lion King, and then Snow White and Lilo and Stitch.
We did not review Lilo and Stitch.
That would be Alexis and my kids. I want to talk about Cinderella for a moment. Because in order to, I think, properly discuss Moana, you have to establish what are the rules that make these work. Because some of them worked. Again, we're going to talk about Cinderella in just a second. And
keep talking. I got to find a thing for you that's been floating around.
There's some of these Disney remakes worked. Now, you can subdivide work into they worked financially and or they worked narratively, craft-wise. The phrase I used with my kids when I was talking about Moana is or any of the live action remakes. How is Pete's Dragon not on that list? I got to go back.
It should be. It absolutely should be. We reviewed it, and
you may not have liked the movie. It may have had some narrative problems, but for the strict terms of this discussion,
it's absolutely a live action remake.
It justified its existence. They didn't do a shot for shot remake of the original. They changed almost all of it, except for the core narrative beats of what a Pete's Dragon movie is supposed to be. So anyway, going back to Cinderella, this is a simple yes, no. Did it justify its existence? I don't really care financially at this point. We've kind of beat that horse to death.
Just artistically, okay.
So the thing about Cinderella that everyone must understand, the reason why Robin and I were gave the movie a lot of praise was if you look at the original cartoon, as you should with all of these movies, and see what those cartoons were, in the case of Cinderella, that is an extended Tom and Jerry cartoon that has like maybe a third of a princess story in it. That movie mostly focuses on the mice running from the cat.
That's what takes up the bulk of the time.
Yeah,
that's very true.
So when they did the live action movie, they got a really great director. They built Kenneth Branagh. They built ornate sets. They designed beautiful period costumes. They gave the stepmother a backstory. They kind of explained the psychology of the stepsisters. They gave you period context in the sense of what was going on in this world that would make these characters behave in the way that they did. And then, they had created a fully fleshed out world around Cinderella, then just told the Cinderella story. That's how you do a live action remake. You have to, it justified its existence by saying, hey, Cinderella is more than just a Tom and Jerry cartoon and, a princess power fantasy. It's all of this other stuff as well. Okay.
I just sent you the image I was looking for because I found it.
Mm-hmm.
So take a look at that when you get a chance. It's germane to what's going on here. Yeah. For the record, let me just completely agree with you. The Cinderella story has been done several times, not just the Disney version. So when they did a live action Disney version of it, they got to lean on the classic iconography, but they hired a really good director, like you said. They committed to what they were doing. They got a good cast. They looked at where can we expand the story. We can explain the wicked stepmother. We can explain the stepsisters a little bit. We can turn the prince into an actual character, which was a super necessary. And we can, again, explore a little bit here, flesh out, deepen, make this whole thing richer. It's still the best one, artistically.
So we're going to have a nice full-throated discussion, but to not have to keep repeating ourselves, we'll say, does this meet the Cinderella mark?
Yep.
Or the Cinderella bar. Okay. So let's go to the next one, right? Now that we have the rules of the road. The Jungle Book from 2016, directed by Jon Favreau. I don't remember this one. I don't remember. A lot of it's a shot-for-shot remake. I don't remember.
Big chunks.
I want to say when he finally gets to the Indian village is where there's a giant. Is where they add more to the story.
Well, they add more in a few different places. We get a bit more time with Mowgli and Baloo. We get more interactions with Shere Khan. We do get more of the humans. We do get a completely different ending from these, not only the original movie, but the book. I do not think this rises to the appropriate criteria.
Okay, do you want to defend that position? Because the way you were describing it, it was it was sounding like it was meeting the Cinderella bar, but you're saying it doesn't clear the bar.
Well, okay, hang on. Let me reassess very briefly. If we're just talking about, what are we? Is there a functional difference between this and the animated movie such that this might be worth seeing, even if you know the animated movie very well? Maybe just barely, but I would genuinely rewatch the older live action remake of The Jungle Book.
Let me ask you a question. On a number line where Cinderella is all the way at one end and Moana is at the other, which side is it closer to?
If 5 is so, Cinderella's 10, Moana's 1.
And Beauty and the Beast is 5.
If we're talking just creatively, I'm going to say this is just a 5, maybe a 4.9.
Okay, so it's leaning on the Cinderella side, but just barely.
Yeah, very, very slightly.
Okay. We're going to skip Alice Through the Looking Glass. All right, let's talk about Beauty and the Beast and why I said it was a 5. So Beauty and the Beast is mostly a shot-for-shot remake of the original. Now, never mind the psychology behind why no one cares about that version of it. Let me quick explain what I mean by that. Beauty and the Beast is beloved. That thing made over $1 billion, and I'm only bringing up the money because it supports the psychological element of what I'm trying as my argument. That people, for that movie in particular, wanted a shot-for-shot remake. Now, they do more than that, though. I think they extend the B story, and I know they extended Gaston's story. I don't know how much more they gave to Belle.
They gave Belle the problem is like they tweaked Belle in some of the wrong ways. If we're just talking about like her character, there's a few tweaks there I didn't care for. I mean, I said as much when we reviewed it. The Beast gets a bit more. That's true. The Beast and Belle relationship gets more, which is the best thing that movie does. Okay. And then, Gaston gets a background as being a former soldier for Napoleon.
So it's a 5 because it's not as good as Cinderella in terms of, and we're not talking quality. We're talking about just in terms of justifying its existence. It's not as good as Cinderella in justifying its existence, but it's not the piece of shit Moana is in terms of only being a shot-for-shot remake and offering you nothing more. Okay? That's why it's right in the middle of that number line. Moving on. Dumbo. Look, we both thought Dumbo sucked. This isn't. I'm not relitigating that.
No, I'm revisiting some of these in my head with the criteria we've established.
Right. This is not us re-reviewing the movies. Do they justify their existence? The sad part is Dumbo does.
I agree. I think Dumbo does.
Dumbo added the entire part with the this was the early. This is the early structure or the early character type of the young black female genius.
Yeah, there's that.
She grows up to be Ironheart.
I would assume. You've got Colin Farrell as like traumatized war veteran. You've got
if I remember correctly, Dumbo wasn't the star of that movie.
No, he was completely incidental.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, again, that movie is terrible, but if the argument is like, okay, I could just watch the original and get the same thing. No, you can't. Those are wildly different.
The live action Dumbo, the only reason why it's not it's closer to Cinderella than almost anything else, but it's just such a terrible movie. You do have to make a good movie here, but right now we're only talking for the purposes of examining what went wrong with Moana. What justifies itself, and Dumbo does. Dumbo gave you enough new stuff and enough of an alternate story from the cartoon, much in the same way Cinderella does, that it actually works on that level. It's just poorly done.
Everything about everything it does is bad, but it is not just a shot-for-shot retelling of the original.
So Aladdin is closer to Beauty and the Beast, but I don't think it's that far away, and it's definitely not as close to Moana as you might think. Because while that movie is a shot-for-shot remake, here's an argument that I'm going to make to you, and I'm willing to fight you on this if you would like to have a fight. Okay? If you would like to do fisticuffs, we can do fisticuffs. Come on. Other than the super extraneous I'm Woman, Hear Me Roar song, which is new, so it technically meets the criteria we're looking for. It was stupid, but at least it was new. I would say the other thing about Aladdin is, how do you justify its existence? Guy Ritchie was given the task of giant musical set pieces. You know, the Prince Ali song with the elephants and the marching and everything. Like,
then there's that whole stupid dance in the palace bit.
Right. So
like, there's full on like Bollywood set pieces in that movie.
So my point is, Aladdin justifies itself from a technical standpoint. What you're getting from the live action is someone's mastery of the kind of craft that gives you the giant musical numbers. That was a sight to see in real life, because where I'm going with this is like the kinds of things that you see in cartoons when you make them, the trick is to take something unreal from a cartoon and make it real on film in real life, I think is an amazing feat. And I don't want to shit on Guy Ritchie and Aladdin for doing something amazing and then say, but it doesn't justify its existence. That would be incongruent in my mind. Your thoughts?
Here's why I think it doesn't. I don't disagree with anything you said technically.
Mm-hmm.
From a production standpoint, some of what Guy Ritchie does is very, very good. My position on this is just I am not looking at what did they achieve technically for whether or not it justifies itself.
Okay.
An enormous,
strictly narratively,
creatively, narratively, like, okay, you were given the task of do big musical number. He did a great big musical number. Thumbs up. This is a little bit like the people who say, oh man, how are modern blockbusters so bad? Look at this 3-second clip from a Michael Bay Transformers movie, and every one of us that has suffered through them hits their head against the wall going, there's 98 minutes of this movie. You can't look at this clip and go, this was good, and say the movie was good. Now, I know you're not saying, hang on, I know we're not arguing quality. I'm aware.
I'm going to raise this one tiny objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
The movie changes the ending, which we said was okay. Gives you the parrot instead of the snake. It's not a good ending. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying it's changed. I'm just saying it's changed.
Yeah.
They like I said, they added a song with Jasmine, the big feminist.
They gave
song.
the genie a romantic subplot.
Right. So I think there's enough change in this movie to justify itself. I will give you the final word on Aladdin, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, you kind of talked me into it, and I feel bad about it.
I will give you this. It's more on the other side, closer to Moana, but it's still like right next to Beauty and the Beast.
This would be, if we're talking just justifying its own existence, I would actually put this a hair lower than the one I put just lower than Beauty and the Beast, but...
Okay. It's right at that 5, around
yeah,
that
it's somewhere between like 5.2 and 4.5. It's somewhere in that range.
The Lion King is the worst one of these until Moana.
Yes.
The Lion King is right next to Moana in terms of justifying itself. I said back in what year was that? 2019
or 20.
Yeah. I said back in 2019, this is a tech demo masquerading as a movie. It is quite literally a shot-for-shot remake of The Lion King. It adds nothing. It changed none of the songs. All it is...
No, it changed them for the worse. It does nothing
that's right.
better.
It's like Scar's song is absolutely terrible, but it didn't add a song. It didn't add a subplot. Like, there's nothing about that iteration of The Lion King.
Okay, hang on.
From
the closest we get to a subplot.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cut bit from the original script. In the original script for the original animated movie, there is a brief cutaway where we see Nala leave the group to go look for Simba, or to go look for help because she thinks he's dead. They add that to this, but it's not original. It's in the original script. They just decided we have enough time and money to throw it in this time. It is an abominable waste of everyone's time and energy.
It is literally, what if we took one of our animated features that only features animals and we did them live action? What would that look like? Well, we got our answer. It was horrible. Animals that can't emote. You're just...
Music that is a bad remix of the original classics.
It's like watching a nature documentary, but
worse voice acting on every level.
Someone decided to read like a Hamlet script over the fucking nature documentary.
It is honestly worse. If we're talking again like just self-justification, I would argue that what it does negatively actually makes it worse than Moana.
Yeah, I would. If Moana is 10 and Cinderella is 1.
Oh, the other way around, but yeah. Doesn't matter. Sorry.
This is for me one number worse than Moana.
Yeah.
Sorry, one number better than Moana. Like Moana is now the dirt worst. This was the dirt worst. The only reason why I'm saying, because I have to be consistent. And if I'm applying technical mastery as justification for Aladdin, I have to do it with The Lion King. and that is the only reason why it's better than Moana.
I respect that personally. Like, I'm just, because everything it did bad is just so much worse than the original. I have to say it's worse than Moana.
Okay.
But that's just me, and we're
not
quibbling
always
over
arguing that we're not always arguing the same case. So
I know.
that's fine.
But yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from there.
Okay, so that brings us to Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp is fine. They changed the setting, more or less the same story, but it's different actor. They made it black. They put it in New Orleans.
Of course they did. Light on.
This is middle of the road between Cinderella and, in terms of justifying its existence.
Yeah.
Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. There's really all that needs to be said about it.
Yeah, apart from once again acknowledging that these people will race swap anything other than do a live Princess and the Frog movie.
the most obvious one.
Shouldn't be complicated.
My kids and I were talking today, and I was like pitching Ryan Coogler's Princess and the Frog. I think it would be amazing.
Look, get him away from the X-Files, please, as quickly as possible.
I'll see what I can do. Mulan. Now, this is an interesting one.
Oh.
Because we didn't like a lot of what they did with Mulan, but the argument is that they did it, which puts it on the Cinderella side, not the Moana side.
So I sent you this image of the Disney live-action triangle.
I looked at it. I wasn't sure if I completely agreed with a lot of it.
I don't agree with all the Hang on. I don't agree with all the placements.
Right, but I know where you're going with this. I'm going to let you explain it.
Yeah, it says there are 3 points of the triangle, basically. You can either have a movie that doesn't follow the original plot but is able to deepen it, a shot-for-shot remake that does nothing, or a movie that throws everything out. And Cinderella throws almost everything, doesn't throw everything out, but takes nothing but inspiration from the material. Moana does nothing but recreate the original material. And then there's the 3rd point of the triangle, which is Mulan, which is ignore everything and make it worse.
Yeah, they took out, I think it was Mushu or something like that, the Eddie Murphy character.
Yeah, Mushu's gone. She doesn't have to work for advancement. She's got magical bullshit powers.
Well, that was my daughter's thing, because I had this conversation in brief with my legal team of Lily and Jonas. And that was what she said. That was what she remembered about Mulan, was that instead of gaining the power and confidence through the journey, she is born with the power and confidence and just takes it through the movie. To where they took a really great narrative arc and changed it into a video game arc.
Yeah.
This is a problem. Mulan was kind of the canary in the coal mine for what became a huge problem from 2020 on, which was basically, instead of having, a Luke Skywalker who gains and learns and changes and is tempted and resists temptation and is finally whole by the end of his story, the girl characters in fantasy are gods, and
their narrative arc is discovering they were awesome the whole time.
They're gods. And then just by the end of their journey, they agree with the fact that they're gods.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And that was the Mulan problem. But it justifies its existence.
I think it is just, again, it is so wildly, it is almost, apart from the name of the title character, it is unrecognizable from the material
you
it's
realize
adapting.
That puts it closer to Cinderella than it does, if you're phrasing it that way. This isn't really me arguing or being shitty to you about it. I just saying you're essentially saying Mulan is closer to Cinderella than it is Beauty and the Beast, except that I fucking hate Mulan.
It is. If I could get rid of one of those movies, it would probably be Mulan. I hate it that much. It is. Yeah. It is antithetical to everything that makes the original so great.
Yeah, but it's its own movie, which is more than
it really is. And
Moana.
Frankly, if they'd called it anything else, no one would have cared.
All right, let's go over to Pinocchio. I hated this movie. It was one of my worst of the year. This was a Lovecraftian nightmare, and that's all I remember about it.
This movie manages to both be absolutely terrible in every capacity and not justify itself.
Okay.
The only change it makes is at the end when it goes, well, maybe Pinocchio became a real boy and maybe he didn't, because we're aware this becomes a trans allegory. And we don't want to take a side.
So where does that put it on the number line then? It's obviously between Beauty and the Beast and Moana. But if,
Okay,
if it changes almost nothing, I guess it's closer to Moana than not.
Much.
Okay.
Again, the only thing we do is make a more ambiguous ending.
Okay.
And
so
everything
it's closer,
else is...
It's closer to Moana than The Lion King was.
Probably.
Okay.
It's right around there, yeah.
I remember so little of Pinocchio other than screaming and rendering my clothing and everything else that I fucking hated it. Even Zach hated it, and Zach doesn't hate anything, as I recall. So that's Pinocchio.
Yep.
Peter Pan and Wendy, you're insisting is a remake, so
I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it puts it between the Beauty and the Beast, and let's break this down because I don't want to get caught up in. Look, I've already said it was the worst movie of the year in the year that it came out. It was my bottom 5. I went on you and I did a special episode screaming about Peter Pan and Wendy because it was so terrible.
Well, it was awful.
Let's throw that out. Does it justify its existence by being something different than the cartoon was, which is this whole discussion? I don't remember enough of it to say. That's why I'm counting on you here, because I remember the focus being on Wendy, but does it follow the narrative beats of the Peter Pan cartoon?
A lot of narrative beats, yes. There's a bunch of stuff they don't do that they do in the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do the whole thing with Tiger Lily and the Indians, because of course they're not going to do that.
Which means they had to fill them with something else. I also remember the Lost Boys were not boys, but a collection.
Nope, they weren't.
But a collection of handicapped children.
Yep. One of the only things I remember about that is I remember Wendy punching Peter Pan. I remember Neverland looking just terrible.
Can we agree that it's on the Beauty and the Beast, Moana side, but closer to Beauty and the Beast?
I might argue it's on the Moana side.
It's closer to Moana. Okay.
It's closer to Moana than Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. We've already said that the one before we said the Lion King was fairly close, but a number or two away. We shoved Pinocchio in between the Lion King and Moana. So Peter Pan and Wendy between the Lion King and Pinocchio, or between Pinocchio and Moana?
Probably between the Lion King and Pinocchio.
Okay. Moving on. I'm not counting Mufasa the Lion King. That was a made-up script sequel. All right, let's talk about Snow White. Return of the Freak. Return of the Freak.
Man.
For me, this is going to end up being on the Cinderella side, because they gave Snow White and the Queen all kinds of backstory and gave, by the rules that I set out from the beginning, what the Queen's motivations are from greater context. You know what Snow White's motivations are from greater context. There's a whole other story going on here. They built a world around these characters. This gets closer to Cinderella than it does Beauty and the Beast. I'm saying it's good.
I'm aware. Hang on. I'm trying to remember chunks of that movie that I've tried very, very hard to excise from my mind.
Shouldn't have bashed your head in with a frying pan to try to erase the memories, Robert.
Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much of it that is functionally a carbon copy.
The stuff with the dwarves, I would agree with you.
Yeah. And part of the problem is like that actually winds up taking up a lot of the runtime.
Not as much
Now,
as you think, because it's just when she's in. It's when they redo the Whistle While You Work and the one where they're cleaning up the house, because that's shot for shot the same.
yeah,
But if you'll recall, like I said, everything when she's at the palace is different. There's the whole story of the communists and and the one percenters. That's all invented for the movie. But
yeah,
here's the key scene that's gonna win this argument for me: when the dwarves meet the spirit beings,
the theater troupe.
the theater troupe, right? And we have our X-Men versus Avengers movie. That's it. Like, that's wholly invented for the movie. It was to knit two terrible mistakes together. That's even the more brilliant part about it. They had to invent an entire bit of a story.
They invented a whole bit about the love interest getting shot.
Yeah, like they had to create in order. Why this movie is closer to Cinderella than not is because they had to invent whole chunks of the movie to save it from the bad decisions they were making. It was great. I love Snow White.
Okay,
yes.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you here's where would be my counter argument.
Okay. You're starting to sound a little like Madeline Kahn, by the way.
Flames.
Yes.
I don't think that a slapdash patch job justifies its existence. Now,
okay.
Hang on. If I could go through with precision and certainty about what they did to try and make this whole abomination work, I can only speculate, and that's kind of why I'm not willing to die on the hill right now. Like, there's boatloads of what I can make rational, informed guesses.
I missed one, but keep going.
You missed Pete's Dragon too. I know, it's okay.
Well, no, I also missed The Little Mermaid.
Because that's okay. So long story.
With Snow White. Yeah.
Long story short on Snow White. I'm not going to argue too much with you about it like creatively justifying itself, because as a general posture, I think you're right. Like, the original's only 80 minutes long. Like, of course, so Cinderella, but and that would be a quality argument. I think by like force of make this 2 hours, yeah, they created a bunch of stuff to fill the time.
Okay. Justifies its existence. All I needed to know. For some odd reason, Pete's Dragon's not on the list.
I know.
I don't know why.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing. Like the guy keeping track of that particular Wikipedia list didn't know it was a remake.
Or didn't know it existed.
I missed The Little Mermaid. I can tell you right now, without even going into a whole thing, it justifies its existence. Changes the setting, changes the aesthetic. Yeah, there's a lot of shot-for-shot stuff in there, but there's also a lot of backstory and a lot of stuff on land that happened. None of it good, but there's a lot of stuff on land that happens that's different from the movie.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
You don't think making it Caribbean instead of it's natural? It's what is it? It's not Norse.
Well, the original story is Danish, I think.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I know it's from somewhere in Europe. So making I feel.
Well, hang on. Here's the original fairy tale is that. The original cartoon, I don't think is set there.
It's set somewhere in Europe. Them's all white people's.
Mark, it was the 90s. It didn't matter where it was set. You're gonna draw it a certain way.
Sure. I'm gonna make.
How did a Jamaican crab get to the waters off of?
I think, Mark Ravage, I think changing it from Danish or European white to Caribbean by itself justifies its existence for most of the same reasons I said it about Aladdin. Now, if you want to argue with me that it's closer to Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin than it is Cinderella, that's the concession I'll make, because much of it is too much like the original. Go ahead.
I would put this on the other side of Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. But I would say it's closer to Beauty and the Beast than it is Moana.
Yes.
Okay.
That I would agree with.
I would concede that, yes.
But again, does this actually justify its own existence? My argument would actually be no. What do you get out of that movie that you wouldn't get watching the original? And functionally, the answer is there's a longer courtship process that's less endearing.
As we're saying this out loud, I think I put Aladdin on the Moana side, not the Cinderella side, but I think I argued that it was close. It was close to Beauty and the Beast. I think the Little Mermaid sits right there, right in the middle of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, for all the reasons that we're saying.
I can go with that.
All right. I think that's the end of the list, because
Snow White was the most recent. Well, no, there's Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch. Okay. So Lilo and Stitch, I think, justifies its existence. It wasn't a shot-for-shot remake. They changed a lot of it because they kind of had to.
They changed. Yeah, they changed the ending, if nothing else.
Yeah. So they changed. So to
Ohana means give your kids to the DCFS because they can clearly be trusted.
Okay, Twitter.
That's the ending of the movie, Mark.
So my point, it was also everybody's fucking take on TikTok. My point is that they changed enough of the movie to justify its existence. So now, with all of that said, we're not gonna do a plot synopsis for Moana. The plot synopsis is the same fucking plot, word for word, beat for beat.
I can do this in no time at all.
I don't believe you. I've seen you do plot synopsis.
Look, it's a bunch of Pacific Islanders. They get told a fairy tale about Maui stealing the heart of Te Fiti, the source of creation. Turns out it's true. Moana's still a girl who longs for the horizon. Their island starts dying. She takes off to go find Maui. She finds the rock with the world's worst wig. They go get his magical MacGuffin from a crab. They fail to get the heart back. Maui leaves. Maui returns to pull a Han Solo. They realize that the lava monster isn't a lava monster. It's what's left of Te Fiti without her heart. They give the heart back. Moana goes back to her people and is able to inspire them to return to their seafaring ways instead of just being safe and home on their island paradise because she's a moron. Sorry, that's a whole other thing I could go into there.
So this movie sucked. I was telling Robert before we started tonight that I fell asleep for the first 20 minutes of it. And when it was over, after I had just watched a live action version beat by beat with no changes of including bringing back some of the original cast. And I looked at my daughter, who is nicer about things than I am, or her brother. And I said, did they make any significant changes to this? They said, in the first act, there's some cosmetic changes, what I will now refer to as table extenders, where things in the movies are made a little longer, or changed in a little bit, but nothing that really affects the plot in any significant way.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, it is literally the same fucking movie with no changes, the same songs sang by the same fucking people.
In the same order.
I think if you were to say, okay, but judge the movie on its own merits, not by its 2016 predecessor, it's fine. The problem is its predecessor was 10 fucking years ago. It's hard to get that out of my head when I'm watching this.
I would argue, even taken on its own merits, this isn't a good movie.
Here's what I'll tell you. The animated movie is gorgeous. The live action movie, I don't know how they lit this, but everything seems flat and it's lacking in vibrancy. It's like if you took the metallic version of a color and the matte version of a color of a car. One sparkles, the other one doesn't.
I almost have to applaud the technical achievement of taking freaking Hawaii and making it look this drab. Like that takes effort.
It looks like the setting on a sound stage for a television show
You could have
in
told
the
me this was.
90s.
You could have told me this was filmed on the volume. I would have believed you.
Yeah. The girl is fine. She hits the notes. She's got a pretty face. Her acting is a little.
The,
And I
the
don't
problem. The problem
on,
is she's.
hang on.
Go ahead.
Before you say what you're going to say, I don't think it's entirely her fault. I don't think she was given good direction. And given this is a first-time director, that's why I'm not going to hang the girl for this.
I'm not gonna kill her, but she's another Halle Bailey. Like, okay, you can sing. Can you act? Yeah. Can you sing and act at the same time? Hell no.
She not only that, but her reactions to Maui are wildly inconsistent. It looks like one of the emotion posters at the doctor. Which emotion are you? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you,
Their entire dynamic between Maui and Moana in this, despite being the same words, is so wrong.
Yeah.
I struggle to fully articulate what gets lost in translation here. There's a handful of things that I know contribute to it. But you took what was actually kind of an endearing pairing and you made it just the most awkward.
It looked like they weren't in the same scene.
I imagine a bunch of the times they weren't. The number of shots in this movie that are just like, here up, are shocking.
Like they shot The Rock on a separate soundstage and just inserted into the scenes with her. And she spends most of this movie when they're shooting it talking to a broom or a stand-in.
I don't fully disagree. Like there's a lot that is just, it doesn't feel like there's actual interaction going on.
They pan to her and she's making pissy face. They pan to The Rock. The Rock does a WWE promo. They pan back to her. She's smiling for no apparent reason. Like,
I don't know who edited this, but they need to be kicked repeatedly.
There was no like smooth transition to her changes in reaction to him. It was like I said, it's like she wasn't reacting to The Rock. She was reacting to whatever the director told her to react to. And that's how they shot her. Like, it is the most unnatural thing. The Rock's, never mind his fucking hair. His hair is funny.
I was genuinely waiting for them to make a joke that he's wearing a wig.
His hook looks fake as fuck. It's a small detail, but it looks like a child's toy. Like in the cartoon, because Maui is drawn like the William the Refrigerator Perry. The fact that he's got this giant hook is proportioned somewhat to his body, and it makes sense. Also, it's a cartoon. The gradients are about the same.
The cartoon you can get away in the cartoon medium. You get away with so much more that just looks stupid when you try to convert it 1-to-1 to live action.
This looked like a styrofoam thing he was carrying around. It had no weight to it. It had no texture. It was just like, it was a child's toy. And The Rock even looked like he was struggling with how to fucking hold the thing. Because in the cartoon, Maui's hands are like the size of televisions. The Rock just has normal hands.
Well, yeah. For a man his size, yes.
He's proportioned.
Yeah, that's not good. The Rock not being asked to actually emote with his face was, I'm going to say this uncharitably because I love the director I'm about to reference. I don't know how they spent $250 million when they were pulling a Clint Eastwood here and like you go 2 takes and that's it. Like,
because they have to animate a giant crab covered in jewelry like Smack.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
and let's talk about that. I remember Shiny from the cartoon. This wasn't it.
I would like to congratulate the Disney live action people. You've taken 3 of the 4 best Disney villain songs ever put to sound, and you've managed to completely destroy 3 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did to be prepared, but you should be shot for it. Poor Unfortunate Souls is unlistenable. And now you took Shiny, which was like 4 or 5 on that list. and somehow made everything about it worse.
Yeah.
Like the only one of these villain songs that you've avoided completely bastardizing is Hellfire because you're too cowardly to do a Hunchback of Notre Dame movie.
Yeah, at this point, would you want them to?
I'm shocked. Let me put it this way. Given the themes of that animated movie, I'm shocked they haven't. Because it would be rife for them to just grandstand all over the place.
First of all, I only asked that we discuss whether or not the movies justify themselves or not. And I thought that was a good 40-minute discussion that we had. If we go back through that list, and how many of these suck? Almost all of them. For the argument that we've gotten to with a lot of people is no one believes us when, like, no one else saw Cinderella. Nobody believes us when we say Cinderella's the best. Everybody tries to get us to believe that The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and some of these other ones are better than they really are. They're not. I would say that I think on just a craft level, it's like Cinderella and then maybe Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin are tied, and then everything is just shades of suck.
Well, for the sake of argument, let's run back through that real fast. Like, and this is literally just going to be because we pass fail. Does it suck? Does it not suck?
All right. I liked, for the record, which is not on this list, I liked Pete's Dragon.
I did not, but that's okay.
Cinderella, pass.
Pass.
Jungle Book.
Slight fail.
I don't remember enough of it to say I think I passed it.
No, sorry. This is creatively. I hard fail it for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that kid actor sucks out loud.
Okay.
Which I was not gonna kill the kid when we were talking as a justified.
I'll tell you what. If you can't beat him, join him. I don't remember enough of this fucking movie to argue with you. So yes, Jungle Book fails. So we got one pass, one fail. Beauty and the Beast.
Pass.
Barely. Yeah. Dumbo, hard fail.
Hard fail.
Aladdin, barely passes.
I'd say barely fails, but
okay. The Lion King fails out loud.
Fail.
Lady and the Tramp, like it's passes with like a Z.
I haven't seen it, so I'll defer.
Mulan fails.
Fail.
Pinocchio, hard fail.
Fails
and gets left back. Peter Pan and Wendy fails and expelled from school.
Fails.
Little Mermaid fails.
Fails.
Snow White fails, but it made me laugh.
Snow White has to commit suicide to regain honor. Fails horribly.
And Lilo and Stitch passes, but not by much.
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment.
So we have one.
You get maybe 3.
2, 3, 4, 5. 5 passes since 2015.
Bearing in mind, Mark is also, for the sake of this exercise, excluding stuff like Cruella, which would fail.
Yes, because it's not a remake; it's a prequel. They're counting a lot of live action remakes that are not really remakes. They're their own thing. Same thing with Mufasa. I skipped that as well. Yeah. But it also, by the way, it also fails.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want them to do a Hunchback of Notre Dame. They don't have a good track record.
No, they don't.
So anyway, I honestly think they should stop doing these. But just so you know, here's what's coming.
They should, but they're gonna.
They're doing a Lilo and Stitch 2, Tangled, Hercules, untitled Gaston-centered film, Cruella sequel, and the Maleficent third Maleficent film.
Okay, can we just? Okay, stop the madness for 20 seconds here, please. Okay, Lilo and Stitch, despite being terrible, made enough money that you want to make a sequel. I get it. I'm not going to knock the business decision there.
Worked with the Lion King.
I get it.
Just in terms of money, that movie did well.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with that one. Okay, happy to leave that one alone. You canceled Tangled after Snow White, and then Lilo and Stitch makes money, and you go, oh wait, we can totally do the race swapped Black Girl Tangled.
Oh no, they're not still doing Black Girl Tangled, are they?
You just said they're doing Tangled.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're doing Black Girl Tangled. Like,
Why
they can't,
wouldn't they?
because they've learned to not do stuff
No,
like
they
that.
haven't.
Okay,
Mark?
we'll see what happens. We'll see what
Mark,
happens.
you're seriously going to sit there and tell me that those idiots have learned anything?
No, you're right.
Like, they tried the course correct because they had like 4 failures in a row. They had 1 success and immediately called back everyone that they'd said we're not doing and said, sorry, we're doing it now. You're still under contract. I guarantee. So please don't do that, first of all. But okay, you want to try a Rapunzel story? Yeah, all right.
Okay. So let's get back to Moana and wrap this up really quick.
But
say something nice about
everything else
Moana.
you listed on that thing. Don't do it, people. Like we don't. No
Robert, I just
Cruella
said let's
sequel.
move on. Say something nice about Moana, or I'm going to shoot you. The new girl can sing the songs.
That's about it.
Yeah, like I don't understand how you made like the Polynesian area of the world look as drab as you do.
You made the islands of the South Pacific famously gorgeous, inspiring, vibrant areas that have their mere tales inspired men to brave the seas to go see for themselves if this was true.
Yeah. One last thing I want to complain about, and then I'll let you have your final word, and we're done with this. When the sea throws Moana around and puts her back on the ship and does stuff, it looks magical. Here it looks like bad CGI.
You can see the wires practically.
Yeah, it looks fucking awful. At some point, someone is going to be... At this point, like, who has faith in $7? Like, The Rock has got to have no more, like, leading like he'll still get cast and stuff. Like, he's in the new Jumanji that's going to come out. You know, I'm sure he's got plenty of shit he can still do, but I don't think he had... I think after this is the last of his power being used up. We'll talk about why in a moment, but I'll let you have the last word on the craft.
Okay, there's so much of this movie, the original. Let's talk about the original for a sec. It needs to be said out loud how much of that movie is carried by the sort of inherent affability of animation.
Yeah.
We have tried so very hard to use other words because certain words carry connotations that we tried to get away from when describing the medium. And there's value to that. By the same token, there's value to calling PTSD shell shock because you understand it intuitively. And it's very, I can't remember if it was Robin Williams or George Carlin who had a whole bit on this. Like, shell shock, boom. What did that turn into? Battle fatigue. What did that turn into? Post-traumatic stress disorder, like just kind of tracking the language we use. And it's not that there's no value in that, but it needs to be said out loud. Now, you're doing a live action of this animated feature. No, you're trying to turn a cartoon into a live action movie. When you do that, you have to look at how much of the cartoon is carried by it being a cartoon. Almost everything memorable and funny and endearing and engaging about the original 2016 Moana stems from the fact that it's animated and is a cartoon. You cannot take stuff that is designed to work around the magic of animation and expect some human being not named Jim Carrey to make it work on a physical body. And you asked that of these people, and it was a disaster. It was never going to work. There's so much of just the interactions between the characters that the physical, the animation choices tell a lot of the story. And for whatever reason, None of the physicality from the actors here did. You completely removed all the comedy around the chicken because it's a cartoon chicken doing cartoon chicken things in a cartoon. That's funny. You tried to make it a photorealistic cartoon here. That is nightmare fuel. If you're going to make these kinds of adaptations, you have to sit down with a real deft eye and deft hand and rework stuff. You have to be willing and able to grab your actor and go, look, this is not just about you saying the lines. You're trying to convey a relationship between these two characters with what's going on screen, and you're standing there like a block of wood. This isn't going to work. Work with me here. We can turn this into something. But we shot this. Again, I feel like they did all the physical stuff in a week and a half, and everything else about this has been CGI'd. And that's what's taking so long and costing so much money. And you're left with a creatively bankrupt, terrible movie where nothing that was remotely endearing about the original works, to say nothing of the fact that the original is only 10 years old, and 2 years ago we had an animated sequel. Nobody wanted this except for The Rock to stroke his own ego.
The worst live-action remake they've ever done, including Snow White. That's impressive.
I think Snow White might be a worse viewing experience, but the fact that that's the comparison we're making.
That's the thing. Somebody hearing me might be like, really? Snow White angered a lot of people. But if you think about a lot of things that anger people, it was because not that they made different choices, if they didn't enjoy the choices they made. I said it about The Bride. I said it about a few different movies recently. I would rather you try and fail than try nothing. Moana is try nothing writ large.
Yeah.
That's a bigger sin to me than trying something weird and failing.
I'd like to think that if that's the case, then trying something knowing you're going to fail beforehand and spending the GDP of Guyana to try and fix it. Like I think my problem with Snow White is they clearly wanted to try something and got cold feet and then tried nothing. And the blending.
That's the thing. They went into it trying something. They realized, oh God, they didn't commit to what they tried, which makes The Bride better than Snow White, by the way.
Much as I hate The Bride, I don't disagree with you.
Right. So that's my point. Like, just to kind of, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go into the money. With The Bride, you try a bunch of different things and you commit to it. And your finished product is what it is. You let history judge it. The Bride succeeds by that measure. Snow White tries something, doesn't commit to it, and then bangs into itself in the kitchen trying to fix it.
Including deciding that Dopey should be our narrator.
And Moana tries nothing. Ultimately, Moana is the most chicken of these movies.
Not just because there's a chicken in it.
No,
I don't disagree with.
No, it is so fucking afraid to do anything outside of the original. Without asking the most important question: why do any of these live-action remakes work? See The Last Hour. And on that note, let's get on with the money. The money. The money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
So funny. Like, I don't talk a lot about the movies anymore. Like, my feelings about, like, I'll talk about the movies with the kids, but like, I won't do this. Like, I save a lot of stuff for Monday night, but it's but it's so funny because like I really have to like hold on to a lot of things, like because again, I don't want to upset my daughter, I don't want to upset my son, so I'm like, what middle of the road, lukewarm politician can I sound like while talking about this movie? and then I come here and I breathe fire.
Yep, that's how that works.
All right. Like I said before, on a budget of $250 million Marvel monies, this thing made $95.6 million. It's the number one movie. This is such a mixed bag. It's a number one movie, but this is projected to lose like $100 to $120 million.
Because people are stupid. This when it came out that this was going to win the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The Disney social media team put out their pre-rendered thing of, hey, it's the number one movie in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep going for a second. I just got to run to the bathroom.
Okay. They put out their and look, everybody does this. I'm not begrudging them being prepared. But a lot of people saw them post this all over social media and went, what does being the number one movie in the world even mean? And I had to respond to a few of these people and say very succinctly, it means it made the most money at the box office this weekend. That's it. That is literally all it means. It doesn't convey anything more than that. It doesn't convey smash hit. It means it is as literal take it as literally as you can, because that's all it's intended to be used as. What they're trying to insinuate with that is, of course, a whole other kettle of fish, but that's marketing and advertising. This line about it was the number one movie in the world for the weekend, when you actually know what's going on, it doesn't really mean anything if you're not throwing up a giant number attached to it was the number one. With how many millions of dollars did you make? If it doesn't say that, it kind of doesn't matter. And that's kind of where we are with this. It was the number one movie. But wait, does that mean it made money? No. It means it made the most money of any movie of all the movies out in theaters right now over the period of time. Take it as literally as you can. You'll be better off for it.
Okay. As of July 12th, 2026, Moana has grossed $43.1 million in the US and Canada and $52.4 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $95.6 million. Following its poor opening weekend, Deadline Hollywood estimated the film could lose the studio between $100 to $125 million.
Probably.
In the US and Canada, Moana was projected to gross between 60 to 65 million during its opening weekend from just under 4,000 theaters. The film was also projected to have a global opening of 130 million, the lowest ever from a Disney live-action film. After the film earned 18 million on Friday, which included Thursday previews, the box office projections were dropped to 42 to 46 million. The film would end up debuting 43 million domestically and 52 million overseas for a worldwide total of 95 million. This start was seen as a misfire. By several media outlets. It ranks among the lowest domestic opening weekend earnings for a Disney live-action adaptation, below 2019's Dumbo.
This barely beat out like Dumbo and Snow White, which had abysmal numbers. I mean, Dumbo was released during COVID.
No, it was before that.
No, okay, whatever. Well, like Dumbo was. Ugh.
Robert, I know when things happen. Dumbo was way before COVID.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I was trying to. I associate Dumbo with communicable disease, so forgive me.
Good save, Shecky. But above Snow White from the year
Madness.
prior.
How do they work?
There we go. The film's underperformance was attributed to fatigue. That's the lowest hanging fruit. The film's underperformance was attributed to fatigue from Disney's live-action remakes at its release during a crowded marketplace, including competition from Disney's own Toy Story 5.
How are you going to call this crowded?
You know, we do hard work here on Damn You Hollywood.
We try.
If you want to know why things are working or not working, just listen to any one of our shows. We explain it, over-explain it, and explain it again pretty thoroughly. For fuck's sake. All right. Moana was, in fact, the number one movie of the weekend. Hey, Minions and Monsters only had a 42.8% drop.
That's a really strong hold, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Toy Story fell from 2 to 3.
Toy Story, I think we'll get to it worldwide, but I think they did eke across the 7-figure mark.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have another member of the $1 Billion Club, Michael, got past $1 billion. very quietly, I might add. Like not a lot
Those
of
movies
not a
just
lot of
kind of
buzz about
hung around
Michael.
and hung around and but Michael just hung around for forever.
Yeah, it's available now on PVOD, but it's still making money in the theater somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Evil Dead Burn debuted at number
Oh,
4
I gotta
with
make
13
time to go
million.
see that one.
Young Washington dropped from 3 to 5. Well, we're doing it at the end of the month. Young Washington dropped from 3 to 5. The Invite opened in a bunch more theaters from A24. That jumped from 11 to 6. Obsession dropped from 6 to 7. Supergirl, who is dying, dropped from 4 to 8. Disclosure Day 5 to 9, and Backroom 7 to 10. The aforementioned Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass debuted with $898,000 at number 11. I want to talk about that really quick. I won't spend too long on it, but I saw Gail. We had a power outage on Friday, so the kids and I and Erica decided we didn't want to be in a dark, hot house with no electricity. So what to do on a Friday?
Come on, why wouldn't you? what insanity?
And
would
we
drive
don't
you
have a Ouija board. So what to do on a Friday night when you don't have a Ouija board? So we went to the movies. And we weren't, and it was one of those where Erica likes a very particular kind of film, and I didn't want to go see Moana because I was seeing it Sunday, and we had to figure out like times. So we ended up landing on Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass. One, because it had a really funny name, and my son and I couldn't stop laughing. So off to the theater we went. It uses the Wizard of Oz plot structure to tell the story about a woman whose husband, after a seemingly innocuous conversation about celebrity hall passes, we've all had them. If you've ever had an intimate relationship, you've had a conversation about, well, if you met this one particular celebrity, you could step out of monogamy for the night, because it's never going to happen.
No.
Everyone but Robert. So you could step out of monogamy for the night, but it's never really going to happen. So it becomes one of those like, who could win in a fight, Batman or God. So whatever. except for the fact that the soon-to-be husband actually does run into his celebrity hall pass or manipulates the situation so that that happens. In any case, he ends up having sex with Jennifer Aniston. And so Zoe Deutsch, who plays his fiance, is like, my heart is broken. I need to get away for a while. As it turns out, her gay best friend, this isn't, not that this movie's full of cliches or anything, is like going to Hollywood for a hairdressing convention. And she says, well, I'm going to go too, because I got to get out of here for a while. While she's there, they meet a gypsy, and the gypsy says, you feel a lot better if you just bang your celebrity hall pass. Turns out her celebrity hall pass is Jon Hamm. So they decide to travel around Hollywood looking for Jon Hamm so she can have sex with him, so that she can then go back home and marry her dirty husband. Along the way, they meet the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, and the Tin Woodsman, who are a paparazzi photographer and a young wannabe agent, and John Slattery, who plays himself. Yeah, a lot of jokes about Mad Men in this movie. And then, you just follow their misadventures. There's a subplot where they do the old switcheroo at the airport where the mob gets her suitcase and she gets the mob suitcase, and the mob wants it back. So the mob is in pursuit, and the mob is collectively idiots. So they resolve that plot. They literally do the scene where everybody goes back and the wizard grants them their wishes, kind of a thing. All's well that ends well. She goes home, and I don't want to give away the ending. She goes home, and
give away the ending.
Jon Hamm, like the wizard, shows up in a hot air balloon, and she realizes that her life is too provincial. She wants to see the world. So she gets in the hot air balloon with Jon Hamm, and they are going to be a casual couple while she goes on adventures with Jon Hamm. I thought this movie was funny as fuck. Erica was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I'm angry I went to this. This was only slightly better than staying in a hot house. My kids thought it was hilarious. Lily was a little disturbed. If you like, I did a whole. If you, I did a whole TikTok on it because there's the kind of laughter where you people think Dinner for Schmucks is funny. Then there's the kind of laughter where you think this or The Naked Gun or Airplane is funny. And I'm not here to judge people's sense of humor. I'm saying I don't really like to laugh at cruelty. This is delightful, cheerful, and everyone's in on the joke and everyone's leaning into the joke. And you're just laughing at the dream logic absurdity of it all. If you like that kind of thing, go see Dale Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass. If you like middle-aged men acting like man babies and screaming at the camera, watch Step Brothers. But there's only two kinds of people in this world. There's the Gail Daughtry types and there's the stepbrother types. And I ain't a stepbrother type. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, now I feel left out of your grouping.
I don't know what you find funny. What is your favorite comedy of all time? Please spare me the dramatic, oh God, he asked me a question I'm not prepared for. There's too many choices and I'm overwhelmed. You're a bright guy and I'm losing my patience. Pick a movie that you decide is your favorite. I won't test you later.
Man.
Is it Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Probably.
Okay. Beautiful. Moving on. Where the fuck?
Now I'm going to be stuck thinking about that. You're going to get an angry message from me in a little bit with a long list, with a list of like 15 movies, their rankings, why they're there, and which ones are interchangeable.
Why don't you write a TikTok on it? Actually, you know what? Send it to me. I'll read it as a TikTok.
I'm not going to.
Hi, I'm Robert Winfrey, and these are my favorite comedies.
Number 1, White Girls.
Perfect.
No, I hate the Wayans brothers. But
Night Nurse debuted at 20. Reading. Oh my God, they made a movie of Reading Lolita in Tehran. Have you ever read the book?
I have not.
It's a great book. I'm really surprised. I gotta go find this movie now.
It's
really
I don't know if
they
it's
made a
anywhere
movie of
near
this.
you, but
Yeah, really. But if anyone doesn't know what Reading Lolita in Tehran is, it's a novel about, it's a nonfiction book about these women who, despite all of the laws in Iran about what women can and can't do, kind of founded a dirty book club. And in that dirty book club, they read Lolita. In the book, I think the book won several awards.
probably.
I read it years ago. Like don't shit on the book. It's good. It's one of those. It was like super popular at the time. Won a bunch of awards. Was about an interesting subject. I loved it when I read it. It's just not one of those things I would think to make a movie about. But I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they'll do an American remake with a lot of explosions
And a lot of moralizing.
Coming in at 32 is Barrio Triste. The Floaters at 36. Remake at 37. The Hole, a 2026 re-release. 39, The Town That Takes, debuted at 40. And that was The Weekend That Was, worldwide. All right, we have 2 members of the Billionaires Club.
Michael. Yeah. Michael crossed it. Good for Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for Lionsgate. A little scrappy Lionsgate. Super Mario Galaxies, same as it was last week, at over $1 billion. And right behind its tail is Michael. Toy Story 5, despite everything we said about it, can't knock the hustle. It is the number 3 movie in the world with $879 million.
At this point, I do feel a little bit more confident saying it's not gonna. It's probably not gonna. It's not gonna do better than Michael. I think when it's all said and done.
The Devil Wears Prada is at 688.
Note the $200 million drop.
Project Hail Mary is at 683. Pegasus 3 is at 656. Obsessions 426. Hopper is still in the top 10 from fucking March. 372. Backrooms number 9. And hanging by the thinnest of threads, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu at 340 million. But Minions and Monsters is at 281, so I'm glad that's still,
Well, and
gaining.
we talked about it last week a bit. Like the fact that the Minions movie was made for what, like $45 million?
Yeah.
Like they don't need that to hit $1 billion to be successful financially. They're already they're already turning a profit.
I'm sure they'd like it to. I don't think
Oh,
they
sure.
greenlight these things without wanting that. But if it doesn't, you're right. They appropriately budgeted it so they can take a smaller net of this thing. Other movies should learn that lesson. Don't give The Rock $250 million for a fucking vanity project. Supergirl's at $115 million. It's stuck between Mortal Kombat 2 and The King's Warden.
It may not be. It's not going to beat the Sheep Detectives. Like it might get past Mortal Kombat 2. I don't think it's going to beat the Sheep Detectives.
Masters of the Universe has died at $112 million, and debuting just under that is Moana that didn't even crack $100 million.
That's where we are.
And The Bride is at 65 with $23 million.
The Bride could be argued as an artistic success if you hadn't spent almost $100 million on it. Just production.
So next week is The Odyssey.
Which is going to take the #1 spot.
Of course it is. But I want to ask you what I think is an interesting question, because it's very easy to believe. I have been following the Angry Boys, as I often do, on YouTube. And for about a month or two now, there has been some serious kvetching about The Odyssey. So much kvetching about The Odyssey from the usual suspects that one would believe that this is going to fail. This is going to tank. No one's going to go see this movie. But I'm wondering how far the reach now, how far the voice carries of the Angry Boys.
Well,
do you think? I mean, people do still remember he made Oppenheimer, and that made like $1 billion or some shit.
It was close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this just a little bit.
Yeah.
The reach of the angry internet personality has never been big.
Right.
Studios think that it's big because they can then blame them on why their movies fail, because people on the internet weren't behind them.
Yeah, that cracked the Critical Drinker up in a recent video he made.
It should. I'd laugh at that if I were him too. Like, boy, the Hollywood Reporter's saying I have power. I mean, it's blatantly untrue. He's popular, sure. Those aren't the same thing at all.
There's 800 billion people in the world or something like that?
No, there's like 8.
8 billion people. I was close. 8
You were
billion
2 orders of magnitude off.
There's 8 billion people in the world, and his videos get what? 1 million?
Something around. I'd have to double check something around that.
I'm actually going to look real quick, but keep going.
Ahead. Like, again, he's fairly popular, but no singular person on the internet has the power and reach to really influence the kinds of numbers we're going to be talking about. Like the angry movie critic or culture critic became an easy scapegoat for studios to say these people are the problem, when the problem is the fact that they suck at their jobs.
So looking at the Critical Drinker, he has 2.48 million subscribers, but for his videos, his Why the Ghostbusters 2016 is his most popular one, and that got 8.5 million views. The Predator, Everything is Wrong with Movies Today, 5.2. Snow White, It's Even Worse Than I Expected, 5.1 million. Prometheus, The Franchise Killer, 5.1. Velma is complete and utter trash, 4.9. Queen Cleopatra, The Most Hated Show of All Time, 4.9.
Got Netflix sued by the government of Egypt.
The Rings of Power, $1 Billion Nightmare, 4.8. Wonder Woman 84, 4.8. Alien Covenant, 4.6. Now that's just, like I said, his top most viewed, and it goes down from there. His latest is one on Moana, 773,000.
That will go up. I mean, that's again very recent. So
I'll go down a little bit further. His Odyssey, Oh Dear, 3.1. Supergirl, The Most Predictable of Disasters, 1.8. Supergirl, A Total Cinematic Calamity, 2.9. And then he's back under 1 million again. No, so he's hovering He's hovering around 1 million a video, give or take.
Give or take, yeah.
He doesn't have that far a reach, guys, and he's like one of the best. He's like one of the more popular ones.
Yeah, like they're the people who just live and die by how other people think about them. Look at someone criticizing what they do in a movie that gets 2 million views and think they have serious pull. That's not how this works. And you'd think someone would explain to these people that's not how this works, but no one explains anything to anyone these days.
So the question is, despite the kvetching, does the Odyssey hit or miss? And I mean financially only. I don't care what the craft of the movie is right now.
Do we know the budget, give or take?
500 million Marvel monies.
If that's the budget, the answer is no.
I don't think that's really the answer.
I don't think that's the answer either, but
we paid we paid in funny money. No. $250 million.
Give or take. Okay. So 250 million. I mean, they've been advertising this pretty heavily. So figure what? 150 million advertising, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at 4 all in. So it needs 8.
Look, the average Marvel movie was about a 250 million. The average Marvel movie that had to make money was about 700 million.
700 and change, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we assume the same math, which for this, I'm happy to do so for the sake of conversation. Probably, but there's a couple of things at play here that need to be said. One, Oppenheimer, while Oppenheimer's box office impact was inflated by its association with Barbie. That, I'm not saying it wouldn't have been successful anyway. I'm not saying it wasn't a great movie. It was. But if we're just talking about purely the money aspect of it, it's disingenuous to pretend that the Barbenheimer phenomenon wasn't a thing. It was. It absolutely was a thing. There's nothing like that at play here. That doesn't mean it's going to be a failure. It means if you look at Oppenheimer and go, well, that made X amount of money, and that's just a dry, procedural piece, basically. Clearly, this will do better. Like, no, there's some other stuff at play that needs to be acknowledged. 2, Nolan's never faced pre-movie pushback like this.
Let's stop there and address what the pushback was about. He casted a trans person. They thought he casted a trans person in the role of a very masculine character. Turns out that's not her. That's not his character. They casted a very pretty black woman in the role of prettiest woman in history. I don't want to get into a whole sociological thing here. I have a TikTok for that. But come on, man.
Well, hang on. Okay,
you know what I'm saying.
I am perfectly willing to dismiss the race. Like anyone whose point here is racist, go away. Let's throw that out there. There are a couple of things at play here with respect to this.
Mm-hmm.
One, if he had called this The Journey Home and said, yeah, I drew inspiration from the Odyssey, no one would be complaining. When you say, I'm making the Odyssey, that carries expectations.
Or if you're saying, I'm doing a multicultural Odyssey. There's a lot of ways you can frame this to take some of the shit off you.
Even if you did that, like at that point, you're going to get pushback, and some of it fair, for the record.
Maybe, but I'll speak for the defense. If he comes out straightforward and says, I imagine a world that was forever multicultural and forever equal. Therefore, I would like to do a Tarantino and take a great myth and do kind of fan fiction with it. I want to do a $300 million fan fiction. So I'm picking the Odyssey because it's a pretty straightforward story. It's a pretty well-known story.
It's one of the seminal works of Western civilization.
Right. So it's well-known enough that I don't have to then explain what it is this thing is that I drew inspiration from. But I want to make it multicultural. It's technically a fantasy movie. Fine. At that point, people may argue about it, but I'm not getting into the minutia of idiot arguments. I would like to stick squarely in the exhaustion of fighting with that kind of thing. But it's the same kind of exhaustion you would have fighting Quentin Tarantino. I want to do a power fantasy where the Jews kill all the Nazis. Fine, Quentin. I don't know how many more times we have to do this, but fine. I want to do a slave revolt fantasy where a black slave rises up and kills everybody. Fine, Quentin.
Yeah, but he also didn't decide that the role of Django would be played by what's his nuts from Shang-Chi.
All right, make your case. That's my defense. Your witness.
Look, again, if you wanted to say, again, I'm drawing inspiration from the Odyssey. It's set in outer space in the world of Star Trek. Who's going to care? Like, again, call it something else and just be clear about where your inspiration is coming from. No one's going to care. Not a soul on earth is going to care. When you say, I'm adapting the Odyssey, I'm calling it the Odyssey, call me crazy, I expect the Odyssey. I expect you to take seriously what's going on in the Odyssey. I do not expect you to race swap Helen of Troy and give her a twin sister.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Oof.
Do you understand how stupid that is? How foundationally...
Well, I have more of a problem with that than I do with... We're not especially appreciative of black women, so the fact that you made a black woman the prettiest woman in history seems a bit off. I have more of an issue with the first thing you said than that.
Look, you then, in your vast multicultural cast of characters, cast 0 Greeks, you decide to moralize and grandstand about the importance of inclusion and representation, and you don't cast a single solitary person from the culture that spawned it.
Question for you.
Sure.
Using the same chastising that I did with your favorite comedy. Who is the prettiest Hispanic actress right now, equivalent in age cohort to Lupita Nyong'o? Because if I say Selma Hayek, you're going to fight me on that.
I'm not going to fight you a darn bit about Selma Hayek being the most attractive
Hispanic woman
in the world. You'd get pushed back because she's 60.
Yeah, I figured you were going to fight me for the same reason if I bring up The Wire, you fight me. Like, do you know anything else?
Nope.
You know any Radulich? Do you know any other Hispanic women besides Selma Hayek?
Do you need to know Hispanic women other than Selma Hayek?
I do not. But for the purposes of my argument, is there an age cohort equivalent who is Hispanic to Lupita Nyong'o?
I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'd assume there exists one. Once again, like, you're asking me to, I don't know what people consider attractive, Mark. There's people who think Zendaya is attractive, and I don't understand.
Ugh. All right, hang on. Who is the prettiest?
You're gonna ask your AI to
Latina
come up with the most attractive
woman around the age of Lupita?
30. Call it 34.
Around the age of 30.
I'm probably gonna tell you Zendaya.
Isaac Gonzalez is what this person says here. The Mexican-born actress has made a massive splash in Hollywood. Baby Driver, Godzilla vs. Kong, widely celebrated for her striking features and glamorous style. The other ones, okay, so the list here is Isaac Gonzalez, Becky G, Camila Mendez, and Anya Taylor-Joy. All right, let's go with that one.
This is why first of all, they could have cast Anya Taylor-Joy as Helen of Troy, and no one would have batted an eye.
No one would have batted an eye. Well, I think that's my point. I think if you cast pretty white lady or pretty Hispanic lady.
Here's a thought. Pretty Mediterranean lady.
Well, no. I'm saying, like, I don't want to fight about this for too long, but there's a wide array of races that would have been acceptable to the racist.
Look, I'm setting aside the racists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to check diversity boxes so your movie's eligible for awards. That's all you're doing.
But again, here my thing about it is, look, Chris Nolan can make any fucking movie he wants. I'm not the
True.
one arguing about Lupita Nyong'o, for the record, but I'm speaking right now for the people who hate this movie because of that choice. And there were so many other choices he could have made to check the diversity box.
Mm-hmm.
That he went. I kind of feel bad for Lupita. The worst choice he could have made was the broad that played Elphaba in fucking Wicked.
Rachel Zegler would have been worse.
I don't know. Well, only because she's got so much shit on her. But before Rachel Zegler started opening her mouth, nobody, she'd have passed just fine.
Look here, and look, you may have first come to the controversy around the casting. That's not the first pushback I encountered with this movie.
Which was what?
The costuming,
Okay.
because it looks bad. Like when they released the set production photos,
Mm-hmm.
everyone who I knew looked at that and went, "What the hell?"
So, bringing us back to the question again,
It's going to be fine ultimately. Like, internet noise is not real life.
right?
You have to figure out whether internet noise is self-contained or reflective of something bigger. In this case, a lot of it is just internet noise. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the movie's going to be fine. It's not going to be the best thing Christopher Nolan's ever done. It's probably not going to be the worst. It's going to win the weekend.
Do you remember when Christopher Nolan used to make idea movies? I often wonder.
Yes, I do.
Because Tenet broke his relationship with Warner Brothers. Good, bad, or indifferent, however you felt about Tenet. Tenet was an ideas movie.
Yep.
And on the strength of Tenet, but also on the strength of the Dark Knight trilogy, but also on the strength of Inception, but also on the strength of
Interstellar.
Yeah, I was trying to say Intergalactic, and I'm like, I know that ain't right. Interstellar. Universal thought they were getting an ideas movie guy. Like, your ideas movies make a lot of money, by and large. So what's your big idea? And the first thing he comes out of the door with is a biopic. Now, it's a biopic about the guy that gave us the atom bomb. Okay. You can kind of sell me, like, if I'm Universal, if I'm the executive, you can kind of sell me that's still an ideas movie. You're dealing with the idea of, Pandora's box and Annihilation.
Yeah.
Sure. You come back with the fucking Odyssey, and I have to look at Chris Nolan and go, the fuck are you doing? I thought you were the ideas guy. What do you mean you're interpreting the Odyssey?
Someone made this weird comparison with Nolan's filmography to this point.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of movies that are tracking the career of Stanley Kubrick. And it's a weird thing when you think about it, but there are some parallels there that I think need to be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty clear, it's not a one-to-one. So when I say, like, these are movies that are in kind of conversation with each other, there's a conversation happening between, like, 2001 and Interstellar. There's a conversation happening between Oppenheimer and Dr. Strangelove. There's a conversation happening between, what was his? Oh, I forget which one it was. Crap. There was one that people were drawing comparisons to Full Metal Alchemist for, and I don't think I fully agreed with it. But there's several. Point being, there's several of his
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Sorry, not Alchemist. That's a different thing entirely. But there's stuff that he's doing that, like, has echoes of what interested Kubrick.
Right.
Now he's got his Spartacus. Right? It's the ancient history epic. Because Nolan has come out after this one, and,
So what do you think his Shining will be?
That's next, is my hunch. Because he's come out and said, I'd like to find a good. I'd like to try my hand at a horror movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what kicked off this conversation, was him saying that, like, I'd like to do one of those because he hasn't done a horror movie yet. And it kicked a bunch of people going, well, he really is kind of tracking Kubrick across these different points.
Well, Stephen King is one of the most prolific horror writers of the 20th century.
Of all time. If we're talking about like works produced.
Sure. Who's Stephen King in 2026?
Well, Stephen King is sort of still Stephen King, but
No, he's old news.
still writing.
I mean, like, who in 2026 is writing as prolifically as Stephen King was at the height of Stephen King?
Well, that wasn't the height of Stephen King, is kind of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing there is the Shining movie is fundamentally different from the book.
Okay.
It's a really interesting compare and contrast that I could go
Here's the
on
thing,
for.
I don't hear a lot about horror writers these days. I kind of hear somewhat about mystery writers. The thing I hear most about is romance. That's what everyone talks about.
There's only it's not even really romance that people are talking about. It's
No,
smut.
it's smut, but it's in the, but they don't have a smut section. They have a romance section.
We should just call it what it is, though. Like, you're reading stories about a woman going to work at a Minotaur milking factory. Like, we know what we're doing here.
You and Erica need to find black pants, a white shirt, black ties, and just get the RTC going again. You and Erica form the right to censor.
No, Stevie would find me. I don't need that. I don't need that fight in my life.
My point is,
hang on. Look, I don't object to its existence in the sense that, like, I think it should be banned outright. My objection is to all of you morons out there going, no, I don't consume pornography. I read this. Like, no, that's porn. Be honest about it. That's all I want from you.
So anyway. we need to wrap this up.
Point being, well, it doesn't have to be an adaptation of a horror novel. It just has to be a good horror story.
You know what's going to happen is they're going to bring him in for a meeting with like 12 YouTubers. Because they're going to see, because everyone's going to take the wrong lessons from Obsession in the back rooms. And they'll be like, here's these internet memes and YouTubers, and, and it'll be like a con. They'll just have Christopher Nolan walking around seeing everyone's display of internet shit.
Okay, so hang on. So if I were to guess at like which bit of like ARG horror would maybe tickle his fancy,
I think he should make Radulich and Broadcasting Network the movie.
Well, the Mother Horse-Eyes saga maybe would be up his alley.
I think Christopher Nolan should make Damn You Hollywood.
That'll be his final piece. When he's ready to blow it all up.
And shoot himself at the edge of a cliff, a la fucking... Damn it, that joke would have been funny if I could remember the character's name. Bruce Wayne's butler.
Alfred?
Yeah, I couldn't get Alfred out of my head. Take two. And then blow his fucking head off like Alfred in The Dark Knight. Nailed it. The Dark Knight Returns. Shit. Take three.
I was gonna say.
All right. So my thought, and then we'll move into Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's gonna have. I think it's definitely gonna be the number one movie of the weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's going to do well. I don't think it breaks $1 billion.
Well,
I think
here's the only counter argument to its box office take. What in the world is eating into its market?
To a degree, Spider-Man, and that's
it.
And that's in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. And even then, like, that's not the audience for Slop Spider-Man is not the same as the audience for Nolan Prestige.
Slop Spider-Man.
That's all it is. Let's not pretend otherwise. It's breaking records for pre-sales. People like Spider-Man movies. It's gonna be probably the biggest movie of the year when it's all said and done. I'm gonna hate it because I've hated all of these.
It is amazing how the only bit of goodwill Marvel has left is Marvel Sony. And the only positive thing Sony has produced in a decade from the superhero genre are the Sony Marvel Spider-Man movies.
Look,
That's a weird bit of trivia.
it is, but you brought this up. Like there is a generation that ends like right after me that still loves Spider-Man dearly. Their kids don't.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. All right. With that said,
No one under the age of 20 is really excited for Brand New Day.
all right, here it is. The critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
People ask me all the time, like, why don't you speak more extemporaneously on TikTok? Why do you do AI prepared scripts? For that reason, I can't fucking get out a joke about Alfred blowing his head off in The Dark Knight Returns because I can't remember fucking names in words anymore. Like, damn you, Hollywood is the documentation of my slow mental deterioration. Like,
Not just yours.
okay.
You
Good.
decline as the culture declines, Mark, and that's why I'm fighting so hard for it.
All right. With that said, this is about right. The critical score is 33%. It's just stayed the same. Verified audience is 90%. All audiences is 78%.
They are, when you see a shift that drastically from verified to all, you know something's up with the verified.
Yeah. The critics say the sea calls to no one in this underwhelming new version of Moana, an endeavor that solidifies its animated predecessor as the superior adventure. And the audience
in every
says,
way.
And the audience says, "Me likey cookie, me likey cookie." A beautifully rendered live action adaptation of the 2016 classic, Moana faithfully delivers beloved story.
It's not beloved.
And a handful of surprises and culturally resonant touches that add depth and authenticity. Can I tell you how her costume also looked like it was bought at a Disney store?
It did. Can I also just, dude, Variety in one same day posts a big piece talking about how everyone complaining about the historical inaccuracy and casting decisions of the Odyssey are stupid. The next thing they post is, it's so great how much cultural attention to detail there was in Moana. These people are unserious hypocrites.
Yeah, Critical Drinker cited the same thing. If you, Ronald Young Jr. of Pop Culture Happy Hour NPR podcast, if you like Moana, you'll like this movie as well.
No. Bullshit. If you like Moana, you will hate this movie because it's worse in every possible way.
Kane Noble Davies of Film Inc. Australia. As a mild switch up to the original, it's enjoyable enough.
No, it isn't. It's not a switch up. It's the same thing. It's the same stupid movie. How bad are you at your job?
Sarah Vincent of Sarah G. Vincent Views.
The hamster that is powering what passes for her brain has got to be about dead by now.
Faithful devotees to the original will believe that a live-action iteration is unnecessary.
It is.
But newcomers may prefer to see the human beings
instead
of animated characters bring the action to life.
Who is asking for live action cartoons like this that are not endearing or engaging? Who are these newcomers? Just watch the original. It's not that old.
Lupe Rodriguez Haas of Cinemovie TV. The best endorsement for Disney's remake came from my 21-year-old niece, who has watched the original hundreds of times since she was 11. She was skeptical going in, but she walked away happy with the live-action adaptation.
If your 21-year-old has watched the original Moana hundreds of times in the 10 years since it was released, I don't care what the mentally disabled think about this movie.
Speaking of mentally disabled, Joey Morona of Cleveland Plain Dealer. Many critics have concluded remaking Moana wasn't necessary. Try telling that to the young Pacific Island. Oh my God. They're not inviting you to their orgy. Try telling that to the young Pacific Islanders in the audience who get to see themselves represented authentically on screen.
Who the hell cares?
You know what? Fuck off, guy. Fuck off, Joey Morona. Polynesians got to see them represented in the Wrecking Crew, too. Get the fuck out of here.
I can't stress enough how little representation matters. It does not matter. People are inspired by great stories and great characters. It doesn't matter what they look like. For crying out loud, how many people decided to be inspired by Scooby-Doo?
The future ex-Mrs. Ronnie Adams, Wenlei Ma of the Nightly, Australia. Does it live up to the original? Absolutely not. It's a disaster. No, it's fine for what it is.
That is the future ex-Mrs. Rattlich. It's fine, Mark. It's her vow to you across the altar. We're exchanging vows. What do you say? It's fine.
In sickness and in fine. Lisa Johnson Mandel of AtHomeInHollywood.com. In essence, Moana was cute. What's wrong with cute? When it comes to children's films, there's nothing wrong with cute. Are you brain damaged?
Why are you so low? No, the first one is better. There's no reason for this to exist. Representation. What's the first one? But live action. Shut up. No one cares.
Ratchet Gupta of Filmfare. For the children in front rows experiencing it for the first time, it'll be magic.
No, it won't. They won't sit through it.
For everyone else, it's an expensive cover version of a musical that's barely forgotten.
That second half is not wrong.
Rick Romancito of the Taos News. The movie is filled with adventure and music, peppered with elements of tradition that makes this kind of story a safe bet for parents. Laga'aia in particular is a gem of an actor who likely has a great future ahead of her.
No, she can't act.
I don't know. Halle Berry still gets work.
She got one job for a movie that bombed.
Allison Rose of Flick Direct. No, she was also in The Color Purple. Allison Rose.
Okay, that was shot before. Like, there's stuff that's close enough to when that one came out that people didn't realize she sucked.
Allison Rose of Flick Direct.
Like, I just got done filming The Little Mermaid. Well, let's cast you in this. That'll be great.
Moana offers familiar family entertainment and strong moments, even if Disney's live-action remakes struggles to justify itself.
What strong moments? I defy you. What strong moments exist in this piece of crap?
When she gets hit by a big wave. Christopher Lloyd of the film Yap. 3.5 out of 5. It's colorful. It's vibrant. The songs are still terrific. And Dwayne Johnson is a hoot as the fabulously coiffed demigod. Is it in any way necessary? Of course not.
It's not colorful or vibrant. You're just lying to the people.
Please say your chick loved it. Oh, good. Leah Marilla Thomas of the Mary Sue Robert Winfrey.
The Mary Sue is what a
objectively show. Moana is not a terrible movie.
Yes, it is.
The story and the songs largely untouched remain good. Moana is good. Fucking Chip could have wrote that.
An AI probably wrote that. Like, what the hell?
Oh, even Carla Hay hated it.
That ought to tell you something.
All right. Scotty! Oh, goodness gracious, Scotty. What are you doing to me? Scott Mendelson of The Outside Scoop. Dwayne Johnson returning to a franchise that represented the peak of his 2010s popularity and playing Maui in a way that takes stock of his 2020s decline is just fascinating enough to make Disney's otherwise recycled Moana remake worth a casual viewing.
You are desperately trying to conjure up something to say that you gave it a positive review to stay in Disney's good graces. Have a little integrity. Oh, God. No. No.
Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. Embracing what worked before and allowing the actors to make these roles their own works to make this one of Disney's best live-action films in years. Oh my god! Wow. Fucking brutal, man.
Dude, we went through this. We did a whole bit where we talked about how bad these are and how bad this one is.
Yeah. I don't think there's been a single, other than Lady and the Tramp, which I gave a barely pass. And it went, if you're just talking about the cinematic ones, I don't think there's been a good one since Aladdin.
Probably not.
Sorry. I know there's a lot of people out there like, does he keep forgetting the Lion King? Lion King sucked. I don't know what's wrong with you people. Like, I don't understand. When I went to work with mostly black women at the jail over a year ago, and they were asking me about Mufasa, and I was trying to tell them it sucked. I felt like I got baited into a race war that I didn't know I was in.
You should have seen that coming. Yes.
And it's like, stop. There are plenty. I want to say this for the people. You don't have to like a bad movie because it represents your culture or what you think your culture is. Whatever culture you're identifying with. Whatever culture you think needs to be artificially inflated. If you do a little bit of homework, you have this great machine in your hand. It's called an internet device. Okay? Some people call it a phone. No one uses it.
It used to be a phone.
No one uses it that way, though. Go on your phone, go to the Google Gemini AI, and say, hey, I'm part of X culture. Give me 10 movies that are the best movies representing that culture. And go fucking watch them. Stop lowering yourself to accepting crap just because it's a crap that you see yourself in. Somehow.
If you see yourself in crap, see yourself better. Demand better.
It's like the Mufasa thing. It was like, are you yelling at me because you genuinely think this is a good movie and there's or are you yelling at me because this is a black movie and I didn't like a black movie, which is even worse because I am a painfully white bald guy.
Well, the supreme irony there being, of course, that Mark has a genuine love for black cinema.
Didn't seem to fucking matter in that argument, let me tell you what.
Of course not, because the fact that you could name more black movies than they could doesn't actually matter because all we're talking about is Mufasa. This is the be-all, end-all of your racial sensitivity.
Yeah. Anyway, Mufasa sucked. Lion King sucked. I think the last decent one of these was Aladdin.
Probably.
How the fuck long ago was that? Stop making these. Just stop making them.
Again, like you gave Lilo and Stitch a pass, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it with my kids, and I let my kids.
Well, that was more recent than Aladdin.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I missed the point you were making. Yeah, you're right. Lilo and Stitch was fine,
and this is worse than fine.
Moana, worse than fine. Says damn you, Hollywood.
I mean, look, if we were serious about this, we'd have 3 categories. It's fine, it's better than fine, or it's worse than fine.
What are we, the fucking critically acclaimed guys?
I'm just saying, if we were serious about it.
That's our review of Moana. Last night, me, Robert Cooper and Jesse, we looked at Tarja, Frisson Noir. This Thursday, Alexis will be shepherding a review of the Bear series finale. Next week is The Odyssey, and then Robert and I will be back on Triple Feature, and Jason will be there because he lost the bet, and we'll be looking at films of the 70s to torture him with. Deliverance, The Deer Hunter, and Dog Day Afternoon.
For those of you who don't understand how we got here, Jason began complaining about the quality of movies he was reviewing with us on some of these things.
Well, go back even further. He lost a bet because he said The Miz was going to get cast as Johnny Cage. The Miz was not cast as Johnny Cage, so we owed him a bet. And I was trying to find fun, silly movies for him, like Vampire Hooker or some shit. and now tag it.
And then, yeah, he kind of complained about all the silliness. And wasn't this also like a spiteful thing towards Ronnie at some point where he was like, how come so-and-so gets to do all the serious movies? And you kind of went, okay, you know what? Jason, of all people, is going to be on here to talk like 3 gritty, meaty movies from the 70s. Let's see, what qualifies? The Deer Hunter, Dog Day Afternoon, and I was on the show, I think, and you were looking for a third, and I went, well, there's always the awkwardness of Deliverance, and you went, done. This is what we shall do.
Perfect.
We'll talk war trauma.
Speaking of which, hang on really quick. Speaking of how we got here, I put some MMA boxing movies or whatever on this thing, thinking Robert will be like, thinking Robert will finally appreciate what I do for him. And I don't know why I set myself up for disappointment. So he says, ew, I don't want to watch those movies. Why do you force crap on me? And I'm like, fine, fuck you then. Here's 10 awful comedies that you have to watch. And Robert shifts to his other personality where he's now he's menacing me. He's like, I don't know what you think you're accomplishing with this. Okay? I'm coming to get you, Phillips. I'm coming to get you. I'm like, oh, Jesus. But I left it there for a while because I can handle.
I'm going to wear your skin as a suit and terrify your children with it, and then leave them traumatized.
So I left it there because I can handle Robert and his pissiness. But it was definitely done out of spite. And then they announced that Soulmate, the spinoff to Megan, is coming to PVOD at the beginning of August. And I went, no. I'm throwing this whole project out. I'll watch these movies on my own. Robert can do whatever with them. By the way, I saw Pizza Movie. It sucked.
They were all going to be terrible.
Sure. I'll just watch it with Erica. She thinks she likes comedy. No, we're going to do
That is the best descriptor of someone I've ever heard. How would you describe them? Well, they think they like comedy.
We're going to do Soulmate on Damn You Hollywood.
Okay.
I like that. You want to complain again? Huh? You want to cry?
Mark, didn't we just establish you can't actually threaten me?
Want to cry about it? Huh?
No, I can make your life miserable on the review, Mark. I don't need to make a big deal about this beforehand. You decide that this is what you want to do. I will happily open the door to my haunted house of fun and let you walk in and see how many bear traps you step into before you run screaming.
It'll be fun. So yeah, we're doing Soulmate now. Did you hear about the Soulmate thing?
I'm aware of its existence because you told me.
Okay. Well, yeah, they finally yanked it from theaters, and instead of just throwing it up on a streamer like their own, they decided to just throw it on PVOD. Fucking Benjamin. You guys have good times. Yeah, we do.
We do.
It's a lot of pinching and tickling around here. All right, so that's my plug.
And if you touch me, I'm going to cut you.
Sure. That's my plugs. Do your plugs, and without doing a 30-minute recitation of everything that happened on SmackDown, if you please.
I can absolutely.
Oh, hang on. I watched the Conor McGregor fight live.
I was going to say, I can easily ignore talking about what happened on SmackDown. Nothing of value happened there.
So I got the kids back and forth from medieval times. I was home in plenty of time to watch the UFC fight. Fell asleep through some of it. I'm dealing with some health issues that I just gotten on medication for. So some of it I kind of spent just kind of dumping water on myself and walking around the house. And so I missed Patty Pimbleton's fight, but Pimblett, sorry. But I did walk in and I saw in its entirety, all 20 seconds of it, the Conor McGregor fight.
It was 69 seconds.
And I laughed my ass off. The memes of Peter Griffin doing the "ow my knee" thing are fucking great.
Yeah.
Well, karma.
Oh yes, Irish. That is the perfect Simpsons reference, and I'm mad I forgot about it. What was that? Oh yes, the crippled Irishman.
All right, so you covered SmackDown. You covered.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. That's gonna live in my head for a while, Ben. Thank you for that. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, which is a show that happens. They're just turning over machinery at the moment, so we'll see how that goes. UFC events on Saturdays. UFC 329 was, in fact, Saturday. The return of Conor McGregor after a 5-year layoff ended in a little over a minute after he slipped throwing the first jumping kick of the fight, which he did immediately, and tearing his knee. We're not sure exactly what, but tearing it. There's not a better metaphor for the UFC in 2026. But the whole card was actually pretty good. The rest of it was, again, there was some really good stuff. King Green got a nice win. Mario Bautista and Corey Sandhagen had a fun technical fight. Bobby Knuckles up at light heavyweight is a choice. If you want the full report, listen. You can find it in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. If you want my extraneous commentary, you can absolutely listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast over on the 411 Wrestling and Entertainment YouTube channel. Give that a listen, if you please. I appreciate anyone that does, and I talk about that. I preview this upcoming card because this Saturday the UFC is back. They're in Oklahoma City for a fight night headlined by Dricus du Plessis and Kamaru Usman. So that'll be a thing. And it's not a very strong card. All said and done, but again, full preview is on the podcast. Give it a listen. I appreciate it. And yeah, next week we will tackle the Odyssey and have to listen to Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson deliver Zoomer lingo that the language choices in this movie are terrible.
Let's go. There are 2 CGI animated cats, and they're doing a series of dances to the tune of Sir Mix-a-Lot's My Posse on Broadway, or as my son likes to call it, My Posse La Grande. And I apparently scarred my son for life when I came into his room imitating the cats from the Posse on Broadway TikTok.
That would be scarring, yes.
I didn't know these were real dances. He identified them by name, and he said, Father, he called me Father. He said, Father, please never do that again. I will never be able to get, I've seen you naked. I have seen.
Well, that's terrifying.
Okay, and that's better than watching you do this maneuver here, as the cats do. Felt the need to share that with you.
Mark, your non sequitur stories about the life and times of you and your children are about the only things connecting me to the human race at this point, so I really appreciate them.
Oh, I don't know what to say except you're welcome. With that,
I walked right into it. We got through the whole stupid review without that line coming up, and I walked into it at the end, and I have no one to blame but myself.
All right. For Shaggy 2 Dope, I'm Violent J, and this has been the Insane Clown Posse.